Bésame mucho, que tengo miedo perder después.
Bright, sunshiny day.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to our Board of Trustees Candidate Forum. So happy to see you all. My name is Antonio Ramirez. I am the director of the Center for Civic Engagement here at Elgin Community College. I also teach history and political science. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our center. We're so happy to be co-sponsoring this event with your student government. So we're going to give you some suggestions on how you can directly get involved in this election for Board of Trustees, for the student trustee, for your local student governments. So a lot of civic engagement can be happening today. The mission of our Center for Civic Engagement is to really give students the skills to be active and engaged citizens on campus, in our community, and in our democracy. So to that end, students will be asking questions of the candidates for Board of Trustees today. I do want to mention that the Center for Civic Engagement is a nonpartisan organization. We don't endorse candidates, we don't oppose candidates, but what we try to do is we try to provide a voice for local candidates running for office and create spaces like this one so students can learn more about local government and how to get involved. This event today is going to be recorded. So it will be available. The entire recording will be available on YouTube later. If anyone needs Spanish interpretation, we do have an interpreter in the back of the room. She's fantastic. Her name is Sandy Gonzalez from Cipota Translations. And she has been here many times at ECC to provide Spanish language access. I also want to mention that if you hear from candidates that you like today and want to support, or if you hear from candidates that you maybe don't want to support, right? You do have the opportunity, particularly if you're a Kane County resident, to vote today on campus, right? Just on the other side of student life, you kind of have to go out here by the bookstore. You'll see some signs. There is an early voting vote mobile outside for Kane County residents where you can cast your ballot for local elections like the one that we're going to examine today. So that's the point today, right? Is to learn about these elections that many folks are not super aware of, to hear directly from the candidates, and then have a chance to cast your ballot if you so choose. If you are not a Kane County resident, there are many early voting sites around Cook County or your county that are open now. And election day, of course, is April 1st, where you vote at your designated polling place. Another election that's happening as we speak as well is for student trustee. If you look to the back of the room here, you're going to see two gentlemen. If you guys could raise your hands, candidates for student trustee. That is an election that is open to all ECC students. So I encourage you to vote. You do have to vote by midnight tonight in the online portal to choose your student trustee. And that is your official voice on the Board of Trustees. All right. In that election, you can also vote for student government positions. So those gentlemen are here to talk to you, to answer your questions, to educate you about the Board of Trustees and the student trustee position. Also, without further ado, I want to introduce the candidates that we have here today. Right to my right is James Allen. He is running for ECC Board of Trustees. Let's give Mr. Allen a round of applause, please. Thank you for being here. And right next to James is Melissa Barbosa Guzman. She is also running for a position on ECC Board of Trustees. Can we give her a nice ECC welcome as well? And we did, the third chair is for, there is a third candidate in this race. It is a race for 2 seats on the ECC Board of Trustees. His name is Shane Nowak. He's the incumbent. He declined to participate today, but let's give Mr. Nowak a round of applause as well, because he is also running for public office, and we appreciate everyone who does that. So Our ground rules for today are going to be each candidate will get an opportunity to respond to a question. Because we only have 2 candidates, we're going to allow you to have up to 3 minutes to respond. So if you want to take all that time, you can. If you don't, if you want to end a little bit early, that's fine too. We will give you a sign when you have 30 seconds left. And then when your time has expired, we'll hold up a sign as well. Let me see if there's anything else to add. I don't believe so. So we have some fantastic questions from our student civic leaders, as well as our student government officials. So let's get to it and let's learn a little bit more about this election for ECC Board of Trustees. So I'm going to pass the mic to our civic leader, Brandon Kelly.
Thank you all for being here today. Thank you, candidates. My first question, I have 2 questions. My first question for you guys is, please take a few minutes to tell us about yourself and your journey. What made you decide to run for the ECC Board of Trustees? You'll have 5 minutes each. James?
Thank you very much. So my name is James Allen. I am an Elgin resident. I have, so I grew up in a small town in New Jersey. I moved to Elgin in 2018, and in 2020, during the COVID pandemic, decided to go back to school. ECC was obviously my first choice. While I was here, I learned more about how amazing a community college actually is. As an adult returning student, and it was a different experience than I had when I was in college when I was 18. I was able to see things a little differently, a little bit more like someone who really, really was accepted no matter who you were, which is different than what I expected. When I enrolled, I was a flight attendant at United Airlines, still am. I've been there for 19 years. I was furloughed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which was the main reason why I decided to come back to school. That experience allowed me to also understand how much struggle was happening with students at ECC when it came to mental health, time at home with family, and time with their education. That in and of itself allowed me to jump right in. I got involved with student government. I believe almost immediately I saw a posting for vice president. They needed a vice president for the student government, so I put my name in the hat for that. And that was an amazing experience. My next year, I ran for the student trustee position. Also, probably a very enlightening experience. I was able to kind of see the board and how it functions, its day-to-day duties, what the responsibilities are of the trustees that are elected. It was a very eye-opening experience for me. In my 19 years at United, I've been an international purser, leading multiple different styles of personnel per se. And I have continued to love my job there. Graduating from ECC, I was able to obtain 2 degrees. I have an associate's in arts and an associate's in applied science and paralegal. After I graduated from ECC, I was hired to work with the general counsel for Volunteers of America, and I was able to do pro bono work for primarily veterans and their families who were in need and struggling. That was an amazing experience. All of these things, along with my other community leadership, I'm on the board of Elgin Youth Symphony Orchestra, which is an in-residence ensemble here at ECC. And I am on the board for Open Door Health Center in Elgin and Aurora. We have 2 locations. Being on the board for those 2 organizations has also given me a great idea of the needs our community has. I feel like that some of the things that I want to accomplish as as trustee is I would really like to have, oh, my time has expired. Sorry. I thought it was 5 minutes. Was that 5 minutes?
Felt like a quick 5 minutes.
That's okay. I was going to say, I thought I was keeping pretty good track right here. Thank you. So a couple of things that I want to accomplish while I am, if I am elected as trustee for ECC, is I want to make education more affordable. One of the things I want to do is help reduce the cost of textbooks, encourage the professors at ECC to adopt cost-effective and free material for students. That way we can get a little bit of the cost reduced from your overall tuition. I also want to partner with the ECC Foundation to help see if we can work together on some extra scholarships for books and programs like that. I do know there are a few out there, but they're limited. The main focus I have is mental health resources. I think that as an organization as large as ECC, which affects as many students as up to 8,000, mental health is important. And I believe we need to have a little bit more care here on campus for those who are in need. And the last thing I want to focus on is students' success. I want to work with local businesses, especially for our manufacturing style jobs, and work to create more apprenticeships, more areas for people to jump right in and learn on the job and be able to have a better focus for what it is that they're going to do when they graduate. So those are some of the main things that I'm really looking forward to if I am elected. I want to, before I have end my session here, I just want to thank everyone, especially student government and the student leaders and the civic engagement, Center for Civic Engagement, for allowing us to be here today. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. And the same question for Melissa.
Okay, can you hear me? All right, I'm naturally a loudspeaker, so let me know if it's too loud. Okay, so first of all, thank you to the Center for Civic Engagement and Student Government for having us here today and letting us share with you a little bit about ourselves. My experience, or I guess I should say my first memories with ECC began when I was about 11 years old. My mom had an opportunity to work for the college. And at the time that she was hired, we were going through a really difficult time. My parents had just divorced, and we had to move into my grandparents' basement for a bit so that my mom could get, herself back on her feet. So the opportunity to work for ECC was really significant and life-changing for me. Sometimes I would have to tag along with her so that, I wasn't alone. I couldn't necessarily always stay at my grandparents because one of my grandparents were disabled. So I would tag along with my mom to the Elgin Fountain Square campus. I would observe her helping students and families and other staff members helping students and families. And that really left an impression on me. And it gave me a chance to see other people who had similar struggles. So it put things in perspective as well. You jump ahead a few years from there, and I graduated from high school in 1994. I applied to, and I was accepted to DePaul University, and I got a scholarship, and I got a decent financial aid package. But, when the invoice came in right before the semester or the quarter, I should say, I realized it was not going to be an option. My mom, fortunately, was still working at the college, but single parent home, no, child support from my father. And so I put things, side by side, and I said, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to ECC. So because my mom was still working here, tuition wasn't a factor, thankfully, so I just had to pay my books and fees. And coming to ECC was one of the best decisions I made. I got involved. I was on the executive board of Organization of Latin American Students. I was a Phi Theta Kappa member. I was active with any of the events that they would have on campus. I wanted to be a part of. ECC did an amazing job with keeping me on track, making sure that any courses I selected would transfer to DePaul. So at that time, you would go and meet with your counselor, and they'd open the big catalog book, I'm dating myself here, and the schedule, and we would just pick out the classes and make sure that they transferred out. But they did a great job of keeping me on track. So I was here for 2 years, transferred to DePaul. I earned my bachelor's degree from DePaul University in communication studies with a minor in Latin American studies. Graduated from there, and I took a gap year, about a year and a half. And so I worked several months here at ECC's admissions office, and then I was offered a position in the admissions office at Roosevelt University. So I worked there before starting law school at NIU's College of Law in 2000. When I was at NIU, I was the president of the Latino Law Student Association, and I finished in 2003. I passed the Illinois State Bar exam that same year, and I've been practicing law ever since. When I was at NIU, I also had a 7-Eleven license, and I decided at that time what I wanted to do with that license. It's a temporary license for law students. Is I worked with Prairie State Legal Services in helping victims of domestic violence get orders of protection. And so that gave me a lot of experience and kind of prepared me for when I started practicing law. I've been practicing law since 2003. I have my office here in Elgin. During all of that time, I've tried to stay involved. I've served on the boards of the Elgin Boys and Girls Club, Public Action to Deliver Shelter. I'm an advocate and supporter of Centro de Información, which is a social service agency here in Elgin, and I do provide them as needed guidance to their immigration department. I'm also a member of the Kane County Bar Association, and one of the highlights of that is early on in practicing, they asked me to be a part of the Judicial Evaluation Committee, which is a committee where attorneys evaluate and make recommendations for attorney applicants who want to become judges in the circuit or retain their positions as judges. So that was really special and an honor for me to be asked to do that. I have also served on ECC's foundation, and I'm a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. I attended ECC 30 years ago, and I've remained connected in one way or another, but 30 years ago, and here I am. That's how much this school means to me. I really have a lot of personal and gratitude for what the college has done for me, but what it did for me also academically and professionally is just life-changing. So thank you for giving me, that's my time. Thank you.
Thank you. So for my next question, you guys will have 3 minutes to answer this question. My next question for the both of you is, what important experience and knowledge will you personally bring to the Board of Trustees? And James?
So what personal knowledge will I bring to the board of ECC for the ECC board? I believe that the knowledge I have, one, as being student trustee, being able to see and work directly with the board, knowing the process, knowing the operation and why they're there is a primary point. I also am on multiple nonprofit boards. I have a legal studies background, and I still do practice under a couple of attorneys that I do volunteer work for. So I believe my personal experience in that. Also, I have been an elected representative for my union at United Airlines, which is the Association of Flight Attendants. I was the communications vice chair for 8 years, and I worked very diligently with lawmakers and other local politicians in DC and in Chicago to help advocate for the needs of flight attendants. That knowledge, I think, will help me as student trust, or I keep saying student trustee. That's how much that's in my head. As a trustee for ECC board.
So I think, perspective of being an ECC alum and being an active and involved community member is an asset. Certainly my experience and practice as an attorney. With my practice, I have to negotiate and contract matters reviewing contracts, discussing that with other counsel. On the immigration side, I have to analyze quite a bit and make arguments on behalf of my clients. I have to advocate for them. And I think those skills are really important, being engaged with the college, having that background, being engaged with the community, but also having these professional experiences and skills that, 20 plus years. I think that's going to be beneficial and just add to what the Board of Trustees needs and offers to our district.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you both. Now I'd like to welcome a member of the Elgin Community College Student Government.
I think it comes up.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jess Heiser. I'm the 2024-2025 student trustee, and I've had the privilege and honor of working alongside the ECC Board of Trustees for the past year, and I'm excited to learn more about you guys as candidates. One of the questions I have for you is, what is the ECC Board of Trustees? What is the role of a trustee? And why do you think it is important for students to know about and be involved with the Board of Trustees? You have 3 minutes to respond.
Oh,
Either one.
okay. So obviously with the board, we're there to, or the Board of Trustees is there to represent the District 509. You're making sure, governments and reviewing and approving budgets, contract negotiations, looking at what's in the best interest of your students, the employees, your district, your voters. And so those are, that's the role of the trustees. It's also being made available, not just at the meetings and the committee meetings, but also being available to the students and the community, your stakeholders, being open to hearing and seeing things that you may not see in Building B, right? You have to be made available, and it may be situations that you're uncomfortable with, but you have to be open to that. We're in a very diverse district, and so that to me is just a part of your role as a trustee. I think it's important for the students to know what the district does, the trustees do. So obviously this impacts you, it impacts your families, it impacts you as residents in the district. And so knowing what decisions and who are making the decisions is something that you should be aware of as students. Your taxpayers, your families are taxpayers, you're paying tuition here. So you definitely have a vested interest in wanting to know who's making the decisions for you.
So I will echo everything that Melissa just said. I also agree. I think that in addition to visibility and attention to the student needs, the trustees are required to advocate for you, the students, the employees, in all departments, and make sure that everything is adequate for the needs of the school. Handicap accessibility, having, interpreters at all times when needed. These are very important things that everyone is involved in. I think that in addition to that role, as Melissa did say, focus does need to be on being visible, being at events, being at candidate forums, being at, outside events that maybe are not necessarily attached to ECC, but have an impact. And I think that with those in mind, we're able to truly accomplish the needs of the board.
Thank
We
you.
answer your questions for you? Oh, perfect.
Thank you. The next question I have for you is, what specific infrastructure projects do you think should be implemented on ECC's campus?
infrastructure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Was-
no, it's okay.
Was it, does it matter?
So what infrastructure changes or needs?
Yeah.
First, I think it's very important that we are finally breaking ground on our manufacturing building. I think it's been long waited. We've all been very excited for that. I think that will increase the visibility of ECC in the industry in general, whether it's local and maybe not so local. We can actually bring more attention to ECC. We can actually have more focus. And once we do that with that manufacturing building, I think there are some other structural things that we may need to do at ECC. I would like to see ECC offer 4-year programs, something I've wanted for a long time. I think that would be amazing for our organization to be able to do that at the current rates that we're providing for an undergraduate degree, and continue them on to a 4-year degree. With that, there will need to be infrastructure changes. Of course, that'll depend on the focus and how much we want to push into that right from the get-go. So I think all of those things, including any improvements we need to make. One improvement I am focused on here is elevator access and handicap accessibility. While the school does a very good job, I think it could do better. I've seen some struggles from some of our students and professors that have needs for handicap accessibility. So those are primarily my goals and my focus that I think that we, as the Board of Trustees, needs to focus on.
I have to say, you know, I know James has shared that goal and aspect with me as far as the issues with accessibility here on campus and expanding that, and agree with him definitely on that. I think also what I can say for now is I know that there's been a big increase this semester in student enrollment, and a big part of that has to do with the dual credit program. I know that it's a big jump in that. I think they said it was like a double-digit percentage increase, and a lot of that has to do with the dual credit program. So that is something we'd have to consider as far as infrastructure, possibly. I mean, I think that's something we'd have to visit as far as, I know many of these programs or classes are offered at the high schools, but there's also the need here, and there's the students that are attending the classes, the dual credit programs here on campus. So that is something that I would want to visit and see what needs we would need to determine for campus infrastructure. Talking obviously with those programs, and also where we're seeing, is this a trend just for the semester? Is this something that's continuing on? Why is there that trend? Why is this increase? Why is ECC seeing this big increase as well? And how that impacts on campus needs?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to the Center for Civic Engagement to ask the next question. Or is it you?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brenda Eliza S. Breuer. I am a civic leader and also leading the college project for Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. My question for you guys: many ECC students struggle to afford housing, with some even living in their cars. If elected, how would you work to support students facing housing insecurity? Would you consider supporting college-affiliated housing or other resources to help students find affordable place to live?
So, yeah, I think possibly looking at what housing the campus can offer
Yeah.
right? Or what alternative housing agreements may be with local rental properties is something to consider, just like four-year colleges and universities do. Perhaps in negotiating something with them and making the housing what right now, obviously rent is very expensive. In many cases, it's costs more to rent property than to own and pay a mortgage. So that is something that we should visit. And whether it's maybe looking at providing additional financial assistance for housing, meeting with other or with building owners, rental property owners, rental management companies or offices, and seeing if there's some agreement that can be made with the college and those individuals or offices so that we can provide some type of affordable housing for college students. Certainly something to visit and consider.
Thank you.
So I agree 100%. I think that, and I will, from when I was student trustee, I do actually remember this being brought up at one of our meetings, and it has been floated before about what would it be possible for us to have an on-site campus dorm. And I think that that is a possibility. I think it's not beyond the realms of potential. That would reduce the costs for housing dramatically for students, if need be. And also, I really like Melissa's idea of using local homes that are available for rent and negotiating a lower fee for those. That would be an amazing situation to have access to. And I also think that working with another thing I'd like to do is work with Anitra King, who is our Veterans Affairs person here on campus, to see if we could also get additional subsidies for veterans who return to school. That would be another amazing opportunity. See if we can get a little extra funding in that aspect as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I am handing over to Angie, another civic leader.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Angie Garcia. I'm international student from Colombia and currently a civic leader. So my next question is there anything that needs to change about the way ECC spends money? If so, what in your opinion needs to change? Yes.
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Yes. Is there anything that needs to change about the way ECC spends money? If so, what in your opinion needs to change?
I don't know if there's necessarily anything I could say today on how the college would need to make adjustments on spending or whatever the expenditures are right now. I think what we'd want to make sure of as far as on spending is that ultimately we're keeping tuition affordable. As James said earlier, that's a key goal for us. I know that we have right now tuition, I think it's $135 per credit hour. And that was after having it, fixed for several years. I think for what ECC offers right now, the programs that we have and the certification programs that we have, I think that in comparison to what some of the other community colleges are paying, like COD and I believe Wabanzi, we're still more affordable. So I think in answering that question, I'd also have to make sure that if ultimately the spending is impacting our tuition, then yeah, I would visit and see what is it that we can do to bring that in, make adjustments. What would be potentially something that we could either spend temporarily or maybe find other resources so that in the end, our tuition still remains affordable for our students, especially right now with where we are in the economy.
So again, I echo everything Melissa just said. I think it's important, again, the two of us aren't current members, so it is harder for us to see day-to-day workings, budgets, things like that. So it is a little harder for us to kind of gauge on if they are spending money a little more in one area that they should be spending in another. We won't be able to determine that unless we are elected. But with that being said, I think that any organization, no matter it be ECC or a for-profit restaurant or diner, you have to make sure that you are appropriately funding the departments that need the funding. I know there have been requests in the past for monies or funds or for another professor for a department or another employee for the student life department. I know that there are needs and wants. I wish that as any organization, we'd be able to give everyone everything they need. But that is the main focus, is keeping tuition as low as possible. As Melissa said, ECC is the lowest in the area. There is not another community college as low as we are. And I think that our focus and the product that we provide is proof that we as an organization have done a very good job internally, whether it's the heads of department or whether it's the board of trustees or whether it's the president of the college. I think that everyone has done very well, and I would like to continue that. I think Melissa also echoes that. We want to continue the progress that has been made, but we want to make sure that everything does stay affordable. That is, I know, Melissa's goal and my goal as well. So it is a very important focus.
If I can just add,
Yeah.
one of the lowest in the area, but also in the state.
Yes.
So I'm proud that ECC has been able to keep tuition affordable for our students.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to welcome Skilling Governments for the next question.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Brianna Zlato. I am the current Executive Vice President for ECC Student Government. Our team works very closely with the student trustee, and I'm very excited to be asking you guys some questions. My first question is, do you believe ECC should expand its program for bachelor's degrees? And what would you do to expand the current number of programs?
Think so the question is expanding the current, I know right now we have the options for the students to obtain their bachelor's. It's Columbia College, Missouri, and what is the other school? NIU. Right. Okay. So we have those two colleges or universities where the students can take courses here on campus and earn their bachelor's degree. So is the question opening that to more colleges and universities, or having ECC actually offer bachelor's degree programs?
I think that's however you want to answer it.
Okay. All right, good. So I think definitely, I mean, if we can expand agreements with other colleges or universities and seeing how that would work logistically, right? I know one of my good friends who earned her bachelor's degree from Columbia College while working part-time, attending school here. It was a big benefit to her. And I think as far as offering or seeing if the school, if ECC would expand its program so that students can provide bachelor's degrees, I would like to take a closer look at that. I know what's being presented here on the state level, and I think recently by our governor is making more community colleges accessible so that students can obtain their bachelor's degrees there. But I think a lot of those community colleges are not located near four-year colleges or universities. So it's a logistics issue. It's making that accessible for more of the students. I know here we are fortunate enough we're by several four-year colleges and universities, including one here in Elgin. So I'd really need to take a closer look to see how that would impact our current formal agreements that we have with these other colleges. I would never say, no, I wouldn't do that. I'm open to reviewing that as an option for our students. If it makes sense for our college and the campus, if it makes sense for our students, then certainly why would we at least not consider that being an option for our students?
Thank you, Melissa. I also agree again. As I've already said, it is something that I want for ECC. I do think that being able to offer actual 4-year degrees is something we can accomplish here, more or less because we all know how expensive it is to attend NIU, how expensive it is to attend Judson University. I think allowing our students to have the option would be definitely something we need to look into. Again, I agree with Melissa. We don't want to jeopardize any of the agreements we have with college of the 2 universities that we do work with, like NIU and Columbia College. But I do think that we need to look at it, find out if it's something that we can actually accomplish, and if so, how we would implement it and still remain our close agreements with these other universities and colleges that we do. So again, I think it is something one of the first things we need to look at to make sure we can give affordable education in every possible way, especially for a bachelor's degree.
Thank you. And for our final question, what final message would you have for ECC students regarding this election?
I can go.
So this is a very tumultuous time in our country right now. I think that as citizens, we tend to sometimes forget how important local elections are, myself included. I think we all focus on the main primary election, general election, I'm sorry, for the president, and then all of the other state representatives and other offices that fall in underneath of that. The importance of this election truly means it affects you directly. Now, while the presidency and your state and federal reps affect you personally, I think we have to remember that these elections affect you in your home. These affect your costs at home. Again, remember, you're taxpayers. Your families are taxpayers. Your parents, your guardians are taxpayers. One of the primary responsibilities for the ECC Board of Trustees is tax levies. That directly affects every single person that lives in District 509. We truly are here to help you. No one else. District 509 and ECC. That is why this election is so important. That is why it is so important to know your candidates, to know who's running for your local elections, and know what they feel and believe in their personal lives as well. So again, voting every election is important, but primarily your small local elections can truly affect your personal lives and your personal income and your personal well-being.
So local elections are really important, and I think you all believe that by being here, right? And getting to hear a little bit more about us and where we stand on some issues and what we'd like to see, what we'd like to be able to do, what our visions are if we are elected by you. But, obviously, James knows the importance of the community college. I understand the importance of the community college, associate's degrees, certifications, transfer programs, also adult basic education, English as a second language. All of those programs are really important. Our district is diverse, and our board has done a great job of making sure that we make the college welcoming to everyone, giving you the resources so that regardless of what your background is, you have resources here to help you succeed. And you can see that as DEI initiatives. What does that mean? That means that we are getting resources to everyone so that we can succeed. That can mean providing specific resources to first-generation students. That could mean college students, yes, that could mean providing resources to the single-parent student who's trying to balance work and childcare, maybe providing childcare on-campus resources that we offer. Those initiatives are all really important. If you're concerned on what's happening on a national level, which is trickling down to us, so possible elimination of the Department of Education, punishing colleges and universities, including the community colleges, for having these initiatives available. If you're concerned about those things, if you're concerned that your voice can't be represented because you're having a protest outside, and who determines what's a protest and an illegal protest, those are all things that matter. And I think that's why this election is especially important. I think that anybody running for the Board of Trustees has a duty to be here because of everything that we're seeing that can impact our college. And so I think not only is it important for us to be here and you to be here today, but then if any of those things concern you or any of those resources help you, your parents, a coworker, then voting is important. Just thank you.
Thank you so much for answering our questions. I will turn it back over to the Center for Civic Engagement.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, students. Thank you so much, candidates. Let's give these candidates a big round of applause. Yeah. Excellent, excellent forum so far. So because we only had two candidates today, we cut down the time a little bit, but I think this is a good thing because we can take any questions that the audience might have for about 10 minutes or so. And then from 12 to 12:15, if you'd like to ask the question, ask the candidates, these candidates or the student trustee candidates, any questions, I'm sure that they would be willing to speak with you. So does anyone in the audience have any questions for these candidates? And if you do, our civic leader here, Brandon Kelly, will get you a microphone.
Probably use Shane's.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Angie? Yeah.
Yes, it sounds. Okay, as you heard, my name is Angie Paula Garcia. I'm from Colombia and I'm an international student myself. And I am a little bit like, I have a couple of questions because I feel like what is being a student here, and I'm just so grateful for being here and for having all these beautiful experiences. But I am also concerned about tuition because, as you say, you want have affordable tuitions for the students, right? But I am concerned because as international student, we pay like 3 times more than our regular students here, like a citizen and staff. Like, how can you help? Like, my question is, what other resources can international students apply for?
Yeah, I think we can, I don't, thank you for informing me of that. I was not aware that international students paid 3 times of the tuition that in resident students pay, or in-state students pay, or in district, I should say, students pay. So looking at potential private scholarships that are on campus, looking at maybe, I mean, I think one of the things, I know the foundation plays a role, ECC's foundation plays a role in getting donors to help contribute to scholarship funds. I don't know if there's any specific scholarship funds for international students. I know there's scholarship funds available for students who are here, you know, undocumented or mixed status or DACA, but I would absolutely look into seeing what resources we can make available, additional resources for international students, and whether or not there's private scholarships, maybe some specific scholarship to be initiated for our international students.
So I agree with Melissa, and the good news is both Melissa and I are very well, we have a very good relationship with the ECC Foundation, which raises millions of dollars every year for student tuition. It might actually be beneficial, as Melissa said, to maybe even start there and work to see if we can allocate a specific scholarship for each individual department, such as using international students as an example. So that would be, I think, a great place to start, since we both have a very good relationship with the foundation. But I think there are many other opportunities out there, and we have an amazing staff here in our admissions department as well as in our advisors, so we can try to help and get more resources available to you as well. I think that's definitely something we should look at in addition to.
Can I ask, are you aware of any like private scholarships available on campus for international students? Has that been even shared with you at all, or with any of the other international?
Yes,
students?
I always look for information like how to be informed about the additional resources that we have. And I keep asking, and they said like you cannot apply to grants, you cannot apply a financial aid or fill the FAFSA. The only thing is just like foundation scholarship, which they give us around like 900 for two semesters, you know, like 400 and 400, and 430, if I believe, is would cost just one credit.
Right.
And then we have to be full-time students here, like it means like we have to take 4 classes. And I don't know, like, because we move from our countries because we want more opportunities, because we want to have a better life. And I feel like the college could support international students a little bit more, not just for me, because I know like there is a whole community of international students around the world that come here seeking for new opportunity. And when they come here, they just face this reality like, oh, I have to pay huge tuitions. I have to pay housing. I have to find my own transportation. I have to find like food, like security, all those stuff.
And so to add to that, and I think it is important to note that the good news is that you're making this aware, number one. So thank you for that. Number two, I think it's important that you are not the only one going through this. Currently, and also previously, my first year here, the student president was Sandra Doe, and she was also an international student. She had trouble with housing as well. And that was what brought the initiative to me about possibly having on-campus dorms. That would be a good opportunity for international students to not have to worry about the additional responsibility of rent. You know, as we said, rent is absolutely ridiculous in this country, let alone in the area. So I think that might be another opportunity for us, whether we find affordable housing within the area or we build our own facility.
So I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm learning a lot. So thank you for sharing. And, you know, I know it's a personal situation, so thank you for sharing that. Absolutely making sure that your situation and your story maybe is also shared, not just with the Board of Trustees, but also maybe presenting at a foundation meeting. And that's something that they can work with. And I'm open to working with them. I'm sure James as well, and looking at where we can get funds and allocate funds for students like yourself.
And I have another questions.
Mhm.
It's not too long. What do you take into considerations while deciding the tuition for like international students?
What do we take into consideration?
Yes, what do you take into considerations? Like, like, for instance, when you decide to allocate, like, how much is going to be a credit for a student here, one credit for like a resident, what do you do for the international students?
That's a good question that I'm gonna follow up on.
Yeah.
I don't know what's was taken into consideration in determining in resident credit hours in comparison to the international student rate. I'm sure there's some factors in taxpayers, local taxpayer money, right? But that's a good question that I will absolutely follow up on and see how was that determination made? Because you're paying probably almost 400 then per credit hour.
Yes, my semester is almost like 6,000.
Okay.
Like it's.
And I'm in the same boat as Melissa. I do not know how they've calculated the international tuition rates or the out of district tuition rates. I do know how they calculated but not the other two. So I do apologize for not knowing that, but I know Melissa and I will both be doing obviously a lot of research on finding out how they calculate that. And we could hopefully get back to you sooner rather than later. So we'll definitely work on that and try to see how that is facilitated.
Oh, and also that brings me to another question, just one more.
Okay.
Because additionally, like we also pay taxes. We pay taxes here in Elgin Community College. I pay taxes myself. It wasn't a question. It was just like,
Thank you.
I just like information that you can take into considerations. Like this is students who comes, they also pay taxes. If they work in campus, they are paying taxes too.
Yes,
Just thank you so much for listening
of
to me.
course. Thank you. Thank you for those very personal questions.
Angie's a civic leader too.
Yes.
So yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Angie, for the wonderful questions and for the wonderful responses from the candidates. Any other questions? Oh, I see a hand in the back.
Got a question. You had one, right? Okay, okay. There's one towards the back. Yeah, I'll give you. Yeah. What do you think the biggest issue ECC is facing right now, and what would you do to address it?
So I think what's right now in issue, and I know that Dr. Heinrich shared some of this information recently at a ECC donor appreciation event or breakfast, is concerned with where we are, what's the future of the Department of Education. If it is eliminated, how does that impact the college? How does it impact funding? The executive orders or these initiatives that the current administration is trying to take with schools that offer resources for diversity, equity, and inclusion, that may impact federal funding to our college. And that is a huge resource that the college depends on. I think that is something that we are going to have, or the Board of Trustees is going to have on their plate to deal with. That's an issue. Yep.
Yeah, no, again, I echo that. I think these insane initiatives that are being brought forward from our federal government are a little scary, to say the least. I think we will have a very tough road ahead of us, but I also think that's why the two of us are a very good choice for this position. I think we understand it. We see why, how, and what we could do to help change that. How we can keep everything perfect here at ECC. We will do our best. And that is truly what I think we are able to do. I think with those, it's just very hard. It just hurts very much to see these things come out day after day about DEI and Department of Education and AID and how these affect local communities, and nobody ever really thinks about it. These people are affecting our lives. They're affecting your education. So all of this, it's just unfortunate. And I think we have a hard road ahead of us, but I believe we're ready to get there.
Just want to follow up with that. Our students are not political pawns. I know I have history of involvement in community and in organizations, as does James, but don't have any political ambitions. I don't think that our students should be used as pawns or threats that could impact your success here at the college. And so I will advocate for our students to make sure that they have those resources that they need so that you can accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to do here, whether it's just taking a few classes to help you refresh some skills you need for work, whether it's transferring on to another university. If any funds are frozen, you know, even any gap, any break that you take at the college can affect you down the line. You know, recently I had a professor tell me, ECC professor come up to me and say, and this was during the times that you could probably seen, there was a lot of ICE raids happening in our area, and a student went up to him, and this was in February, and said to him, or January, excuse me, and said to him, I'm probably not going to be able to finish the semester here because my parents who've been living here 20 plus years are afraid to go to work. They're undocumented. I have a younger sibling at one of our high schools here, and I have to make sure that he can finish high school. So I'm working part-time right now. I'm probably going to have to work full-time so that I can make sure he can finish high school. And so that meant she wasn't going to be able to finish the semester. That's just not acceptable. And that's a reality that's happening right now. So we chose an interesting time to run for the Board of Trustees, but I think it's also a time that you need voices like ours on there to advocate for our students.
Thank you for the question. A lot of great comments in response to your question. Yeah. I think we have time for one more question. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hi, so I know that the incumbent isn't here, but for everyone here, it sounds like you two share similar positions. So what makes you both different from the incumbent?
I have to just say that I'll speak for myself. Me being here, this is just giving you a glimpse of who I am. I am going to listen. I am going to work with diverse people. I have done that for every organization and board that I've served on, even going back to being in the community college, being in organizations at DePaul, being at NIU, but even just on the civic organizations here. I am used to being out there, networking, listening, advocating, and I think that differentiates me from the incumbent. I think that was the question.
So I also am in a very similar situation to Melissa. I care more about community. As Melissa does, I am an LGBTQIA representative. My husband and I live here in Elgin. We are in the community day to day. I am involved. I think that my presence alone here at ECC since I've graduated proves that I'm not someone who's once elected going to sit in an office and not show up. My belief in what ECC does is tremendous. I fell in love with ECC the moment I stepped on campus. The love I felt coming from everyone here, I want to make sure everyone experiences that. So that differentiates me from the incumbent.
Just want to say, you know, I'm appreciate that Mr. Nowak has serving on the board and that he is running because it's not easy. I have learned quite a bit these last few months. And so him saying, I'm going to do this again, I admire that of him. I don't know the reasons. I have to say, I cannot make assumptions on why he's not here today. I don't know. But I want to say, again, I want to place more of the emphasis on I'm here to listen and advocate. And I just wanted to follow up with those last few words.
And just to, again, a quick rebuttal, and I agree with Melissa. I also don't know why Shane has decided not to attend today. But overall, I think that the fact that we're able to be here, be present, and we want to actually truly promote ECC and the benefits. We're here to listen. We're here for you.
All right. I think Professor Long has a question right in the back here.
Didn't jump on earlier with the class. We brought the class down. I brought the class down.
I can't hear him.
Can
He
you
has
use
a
the mic,
microphone
Bob?
for you. Right.
But I did have a point to
I
make.
can't hear
I
him.
can't hear a word he said.
We can't hear you, Bob. Could you use the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I brought our class down belatedly and I apologize. We should have come much earlier. I just wanted to restate the point that I try to make both with my students and in general with others. Some are 17 years old and they can't vote yet, but ever since I was 18 and had the chance to vote, which has been a while, it was vitally important to me, and stressing that they get out and do it, that they register, which we still have is the van still out front there?
It is until
If
4 today.
they're not registered, that they register because their voices are vitally important to this conversation. And whether it's a local issue or clearly, even the remote idea that they're going to get rid of the Department of Education is like a frightening prospect with a regime, I would call it, that is already pretty frightening. So that they're voting really matters is my bottom line, I guess.
Thank you so much, Bob. Professor Long, for your message. Appreciate you. Let's
Thank
give these
you.
candidates one more. Oh, you have one more thing to say?
Thank him.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that message. Let's give these candidates and yourselves one more round of applause for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you. And as Professor Long said, please exercise your right to vote. You can vote outside. You can also talk to hopefully the candidates will be able to hang around for a few minutes and answer any personal questions you might have. We also have the trustee candidates in the back. So thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful day.
To make you feel my love. The storms are raging on the rolling sea, and on the highway of regret. The